Hi, my name is Katie Neisler, and I am here with your weekly wisdom. This is the series that I'm posting on my blog, on my website, and also on YouTube. It's to bring you a essence of my message and an essence of my journey as well as I move through life and move through my healing journey, just as you all get to do. This week, I had a lot come up around these certain spirals that we can go into. And there was an opportunity for me to go into a different spiral this week and to also have perspective on the way that I used to do things. So, when I was going through a thick layer of my healing journey, there was a lot around depression and impatience. And I found myself at the bottom of these spiraled pits quite often, especially in the beginning of my journey. I was up against suicidal thoughts, and that's something really personal to share, but it's something I pulled myself out of by going to the bottom actually and really feeling that pain. It was actually more of a numbness, and I would numb out completely, and all I could feel was this overwhelming need to not be here anymore. But those started to dissipate, and I began to pull myself out of these spirals. I did have the help of a mentor to keep me in check, not in check, but keep me accountable to my journey and to what I was trying to achieve and what I eventually achieved. But when you're at the bottom of these pits, it can be really hard to see things differently. We're caught in a distortion filter. We're caught in this filter that we are victims to life, that life isn't giving us what we need, that there isn't any goodness for us specifically. We become really a victim to life is the best way I can describe it. And it can be hard for people to reach us because we feel like they just can't understand what we're going through, even if they have enough compassion to be able to touch us at the bottom of that pit. But ultimately, even if people can reach us and give us new perspective, we have to take the responsibility and make the choice to do something with that new perspective, to make the change, and to pull ourselves out of this spiral. So, people usually are living in a neutral state, and we have certain events that come into our life to test us because spirit trusts us, and it can test us in the fact that it's going to pull us further down or pull us back into an old pattern or an old spiral, or it's going to raise us up and help us upgrade into something new and to transform us. So the old spiral is that spiral of depression, of impatience, of anxiety, of worry. It could be an emotional one where we get pulled down by pain and by hurt, or it could be a mental one where we feel out of control, that we can't control a certain aspect in our life, and so we spiral trying to figure it out. I've done both. I've done the emotional, I've done the mental, and the commonality between it is that in this first layer, when we're beginning to be hooked into that thought or feeling, we have the opportunity to make a new decision. We can pull back and be the observer and see ourselves in that pattern and go, shit, okay, let me do something different. Let me have gratitude and pull myself out. Let me recognize that and do something different instead of me going and laying down in my bed and being upset. Maybe I'll take myself out on a hike. Maybe I'll get in my body and really appreciate that. This can go with food patterns too. Oh, I'm feeling bad about myself and I'm starting to eat a lot. Okay, pull back. There's the pattern. Okay, am I really hungry? No. All right, now I'm going to go do something else. Maybe I'll get in my body instead in a new way, or I'll call a friend and talk to them. So there's these opportunities, if we can detach ourselves from our experience and become the observer, to stop that pattern, to stop that spiral. another way that works is going into gratitude. Be grateful. One thing that's been coming up for me is impatience around pulling in a new job. And so I'll be like, oh, well, I had this opportunity. Maybe I didn't do enough. And that's why it hasn't come back to me yet. And I see myself going in this spiral. And so I stop and I go, okay, thank you for the opportunity to have a new job. Thank you for the opportunity to explore something different about myself. And starting with those gratitudes actually can pull us back into that neutral state and pop us into the spiral of goodness instead, which I'll talk about too. And so when we're in this neutral state, that first layer can be easier to pop us out, but we can also be stuck in a certain layer of that pit that we're going down. For instance, depression. Maybe we aren't at the bottom where we're feeling suicidal, but there's still this fog around us of being victim to life. We're victim to the experiences that are coming towards us, even if they might be for our own good in the end and painful in the beginning. And so how do we pull ourselves out of those layers? Well, same thing, pulling back and being the observer and seeing the pattern, and gratitude. Gratitude is a beautiful way, like I said, to pull ourselves out of things. It reconnects us to spirit, it reconnects us to the basic goodness around us, and it reconnects us to our own soul and our own worth and our own heart, which is what we're disconnecting from, especially in depression. With anxiety, we're pulling into the head and we're disconnecting from everything else. With depression, we're only connecting into our pain body instead of everything else that is around us and into the rest of our body. So we have that opportunity to do the observer or to have gratitude. And when we pull back and we allow ourselves to be the observer, there's also the opportunity for people who are practitioners or friends to get in there and insert new seeds of perspective, which are really needed when we're in the shit of it. But the key to it is you making the conscious choice to allow a different pattern in your life and to allow a different perspective too. Because if we're stuck in the victim to life and we don't have a crack for light to get in, for new perspective to get in, we're going to be stuck in it. There's not an opportunity for you to change, nor does it seem like you're willing to change if you are so stuck in the perspective. So use the observer, use the gratitude to pull yourselves out of that. Because even if people insert new perspective, you still have to make the conscious choice to change. You still have to pull yourself out of that pit. No one else can pull you out of it. You have to decide that you are worth enough, to pull yourself out of pain. So when we're in this neutral state, there's that spiral that we can hook back into. Or there is this new spiral, this spiral of goodness. And it's not necessarily new, but new to me. Spiral of goodness that you can go into. And it starts with gratitude. Gratitude has this beautiful way of starting as a seed and expanding and exploding into the infinite possibilities of life. And so gratitude, I find, I'm always like, oh, it's not this like heart-wrenching, heart chakra, intense orgasm of gratitude, so I'm not actually feeling it. Well, gratitude doesn't have to be this grand thing. It can be, just like forgiveness and love can be that too. But we have to start with the little things. So be grateful that you have shelter. Be grateful that you have water. I lived in a tent for 3 months, so I'm always grateful to have a bed, to have shelter, to have heat. Start with those little things, and that can pull you out of those old layers. That can pull you into the spiral of goodness, because these little things begin to be bigger things. Yes, I'm grateful for the shelter. Oh, but I'm also grateful that I'm having this trigger because it's making me see this new clarity around the subject I've been stuck in for a while. And it spirals further and further out. Gratitude also gives us this opportunity to be in better connection to spirit. Spirit has the ability to access us greater through that. We start seeing signs, synchronicities, then we start manifesting. So if we access the spiral of goodness, if we make the conscious choice to spiral into goodness rather than into pain and anxiety, then life can get to us greater. And life is the key to everything, right? Life is what brings us all of this goodness, of all of this. Even if it does bring us pain, there's always a seed of light behind it that's going to help us grow and help us change if we choose to see it that way. So when you're in the shit and you get triggered, spiral into goodness or spiral into pain. Those are your two options. And I present them to you so that you can make a different choice this next time. Because believe me, this past week I wanted to go into anxiety and worry around control of a certain situation, but I chose gratitude instead. And I was able to pull myself out of it. And that's what I keep coming back to when that thing triggers again. Spiral into goodness. Spiral into goodness. That is the key to getting yourself out of this crazy mind crap. So that's my seed of wisdom for you for this week, or weekly wisdom, seed, weekly, whatever, the wisdom for this week. Go ahead and check out my website. I work with Nicole and we're running a special. I'm also running a special on my tarot sessions for $99 for an hour. And within that, you get my coaching abilities. And check out and read on my website a little bit about my coaching, because that is the direction I'm going in. And I really love it, and I love working with people deeper. So if you're starting your journey, or if you are wanting to take a certain issue further into healing, give that a thought. Give that a make that an opportunity for yourself. See if we'll fit. Because that is where I'm going, and that's what I really love to do. So I will see you all next week for your weekly wisdom, and I hope the rest of the week is fabulous. Namaste.